What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Gotham Season 2, Episode 22, the finale, Transference. Ultimately, this finale did a lot of things right. However, a lot of those right things were not exactly taking risks. And I say that knowing that this is supposed to be a prequel for Batman. So it's really hard to kill off some of these main characters knowing they're going to be there later down the line. I understand that, however, I would like to see them take some of those risks. Kill off Lucius Fox. Why not? You know, it would be kind of a twist thrown in there. Maybe make it your own thing. They already kind of are, when you really think about it, because a lot of the argument that goes into why Batman should or should not exist later down the line is that a lot of people look at villains like the Joker and say, if Batman did not exist, the Joker would not have existed. Because even in, in Civil War, this is a argument that they have. Once Iron Man built his suit, after that, that's when the superpowered villains started showing up. And so Vision makes that argument that statistically, until Tony Stark became Iron Man, there were not really any superpowered villains. After that happened, the superpowered villains started to really skyrocket. So they've already changed up the style a lot, considering that all of these supervillains are now around, and there aren't any vigilantes, there aren't any heroes or superheroes to work off of. They just appeared for some reason, for no reason at all, really. It was just there. It just happened. So I think about that and I think, yeah, you already have changed up the Batman story quite a bit. Why not change it up some more? Why not take it and make it your own thing? And they aren't really doing that. So I will say I really like this finale, but overall I wish they would take some more risks. You know, maybe kill off a character that isn't supposed to be killed off. You know, kill off Alfred, kill off Lucius. So somebody like that, you know, somebody that we don't expect to die, and then they're dead. And don't bring them back like you brought Fish Mooney back, because that would just be stupid. Anyway, going off of that, Fish Mooney coming back is probably my least favorite thing about this episode. It happened in the last one. We see a lot more of her now, and it's a reminder of why I didn't really like her in the first season. One of the greatest things about Jerome at the beginning of this season, he was pretty much supposed to be a young version of Joker. One of the greatest things about his character was that it just felt like he was pulled straight out of a comic book. You know, his acting was down pat, the laugh was brilliant. It was like watching a young version of Joker. Fish Mooney, now, Jada Pinkett Smith, I can't remember, I know it's Will Smith's wife. She's a great actress, don't get me wrong. My problem with her is you can tell she's trying to be a comic book character. It's one thing to be a comic book character, it's another thing to try to be one. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've watched a lot of TV shows, watched a lot of movies, there are just some actors in certain parts where it feels like they're forcing it a bit. You know, there's some actors it's just like, I feel like you are that role. I feel like you've become that character. And then there's some that just feel like they're really forcing it. Like they're really overacting, trying to get the part down. And this is one of those times. It's just every little word out of her mouth, all of that little stuff, it just is so overplayed that it gets annoying after a while. And that's why there were times in the first season whenever her character was kind of put off to the side. I'm just like, this is enjoyable. And then she came back in full force. I'm just like, okay, this is getting a little tiresome. And in fact, near the end, she actually sort of dropped that a bit. And it made her more enjoyable on screen. And then they killed her off. I'm like, okay. And now they brought her back, and she's back to her same old, I think you need to listen to me. And it's just all overplayed. I'm just like, okay, please, just maybe have her around for a few episodes, but she doesn't need to be a main character again. I don't want that. Aside from that, though, the rest of this episode was really well set up by the last episode, in fact. You've got Jim Gordon taken hostage by Hugo Strange, and he injects him with. He says it was a truth serum. I really think it was kind of a psychological. Just. I don't know what the best way to think of it is, but it goes beyond just telling the truth. It was like it affected how he thought. And it made. Like at one point, Hugo Strange was like, I'm God. Now I'm taking all that guilt that I have on you, and I'm taking it away. How do you feel now? And she's like, I feel good. So it was really affecting him more than just telling the truth, and I'm kind of sad to see Hugo Strange go because that's part of the fun of his character. He really is more of a psychological villain. And he's not like all of the, like Penguin just blowing, shooting stuff up. He's more of a I'm gonna mess with your mind villain, and it's really enjoyable to see that. So that scene was really well done. You've got Bruce and Lucius being trapped by Enigma. He's asking him questions to try to figure out what they know, and of course they don't know anything. So that whole scene, like I said, they're not taking any risks. So seeing the gas come down, it's like it's poison gas, and Enigma's just laughing and laughing. I'm like, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna kill both of them off. If it were just Lucius, I would say maybe, and that would be really interesting. But because it's Bruce and Lucius, there's no way they're going to kill both of those characters off. So I was like, it's obviously not poison gas. It's probably just something to knock them out. And sure enough, they wake up next to Jim. Also going on at the same time, you've got the guy who has the Jim Gordon mask on. Clearly not acting like Jim Gordon, but I think that was kind of the point. Even though it was so stupid, it was kind of an enjoyable stupid. And this show really has not done that. It's been very serious most of the time. They've had some fun, enjoyable moments, but for the most part, the first season was very grim in its setting. It was very dark toned. It was very serious, not a lot of laughs. It was not a lot of joy in the show. This was kind of with Harvey involved. There are laughs most of the time. He's a fun character to have around. So to have this fake Jim Gordon come in and just clearly not acting like Jim at all, and Harvey's just like sitting there completely clueless, just like, that's Harvey. That's just part of the fun of his character. He doesn't get it. He's just kind of clueless and ignorant sometimes. But then Alfred came in, and I'm thinking, okay, Alfred's gonna figure it out, and then he didn't. I was like, wait. Like, I get Harvey not doing it, it's fun, it's funny, but Alfred not getting it, that goes against his character. Like, he would instantly know something's not right here. And then Barbara comes in, it's like, okay, of course she's gonna figure it out, and she does. So, as fun and funny as all of that was, I wish they didn't bring Alfred in, because he should have figured it out. He's smarter than that. But I do like the way that they had them, Barbara's like, this isn't Jim, and then just punches him across the face, and then his face is like twisted because it's not real face. I did like how they did that. Then we cut back, all of the stuff going on inside the asylum. We've got Selena and Firefly kind of. I don't really know how this all worked out. It was kind of cheesy how it ended up working out. Because Firefly wanted Selena as kind of a right-hand man, whenever Mr. Freeze is told by Hugo Strange to go kill him, then Selena's like, no, and then Strange is like, kill her, and then Firefly's like, no, and so they end up fighting while Selena goes and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, that's how easy it is? It's just because, you go kill them. Oh, you don't want him to? Okay, you kill her too. Oh, you don't want... Okay, well, I guess that's that then. It was just all very weird, and then Selena breaks him out. They come out, and then Firefly and Mr. Freeze are fighting. Hugo Strange, for some reason, tries to run right in the middle of it, and then ends up getting blasted by both, and lives. I'm just like, okay, now you've lost me. It was funny at moments, it was serious at moments. We had enjoyable parts in this episode, and then Hugo Strange runs right in between this fire and frost blast and somehow survives it. that's taking it too far. That is taking it from the realm of this is funny to this is ridiculous. And I didn't want it to go ridiculous. I didn't want it to go full ridiculous. I didn't mind having the funny stuff. I didn't mind having the sort of humorous moments where it didn't make any sense, but it was just funny. But to have a guy get blasted with these two weapons and survive it is just like, see, now you've lost me. Now you've really, really lost me. Because we saw, what's her face, the girl with the Talon hand, we saw her get blasted with the freeze gun, and she was done. That was it. She was dead. And I don't know. I guess you could make the argument that they sort of cancel out, and so he really didn't get hit with the full blast of either, but it really just didn't make any sense at all. So Jim goes down to work on the bomb with Lucius, try to figure it out. They get Nigma's help. And then, once again, we're greeted with some more ridiculous moments where Ethel is sitting there knocked out, and they're about to, break into the bomb to try to unwire it or something. And she's like, no, water. And they're like, yeah, she's right, water would do something, something. And then gets some water, pours it in, shuts off the bomb. And she's like, no, I need water. And I'm just like, wait, really? That's, what? It would have made so much more sense if she woke up and not wanting to die told them, no, you need water to shut it off. Because she would know how the bomb would work because she works for Hugo Strange. But to have her wake up and say, I need water, well, say water, thinking I need water, and then they go get water, turn it off, and it's like, oh, haha, she actually meant she needed water. That's just like two guys fighting, and then one says Martha, and then the other one's like, oh, that's my mom's name. It's your mom's name too? We're done fighting. It's kind of ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And so, I will say I enjoyed this episode on a whole, and I'll get to the last scene with Fish Mooney in a second. But as far as that goes, I really did enjoy that. It was fun at moments, it was serious at moments, it was exciting, and then they just have those two ridiculous final moments where Hugo Strange survives that, and then Ethel wakes up and says water, and it turns out that actually is what they needed to turn off the bomb. I don't know, those two moments didn't ruin it for me, but it really took a lot of the effect out of this final episode. It could have been much more intense and exciting if you didn't have those stupid, ridiculous moments in it. Have the humor, that's fine. Have the funny moment, that's fine. But to throw those ridiculous moments in at the very end, in the midst of all of the seriousness, just kind of takes a lot of it out. And I've said this before in other reviews, there are shows, and in my opinion, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did this very well in their finale, they had humor going in, in the finale, in the final 2-hour episode that they had humor in there. There's a lot of humor mixed with a lot of good action, but the very last moment, the very last scene, where it's supposed to be the most intense and the most emotional, there was no humor there. And that's what this show missed in this finale. They should have had an intense moment where they're shutting off the bomb. Instead, what they have is a moment where a guy survives getting shot by a fire and ice gun on both sides, and then you have a woman waking up asking for water, and that turns out to be exactly what the main hero needs to shut off the bomb. And it turns out she wasn't telling him to pour water. It just doesn't work. It takes a lot of the intensity out of that. And it did kind of ruin that final scene for me just a little bit, but it didn't ruin the episode on a whole. So I don't know. It's just they got so much right, and then they got a few things wrong, and unfortunately that's what really gets focused on, doesn't it? But then after that, we do have an interesting scene where Fish Mooney's escaping on the bus. Harvey has a cop going after her, and then for some reason the cop's about to take her bus head on with his cop car. Okay, that's gonna work. And then Butch shows up out of nowhere with a freaking minigun and just shoots up the cop car, shoots up the bus. The bus ends up going over top the cop car, and it was awesome to watch. And then Penguin steps out from behind, and they're walking up towards the bus. Fish Mooney appears behind him and then uses her touch to knock him out. And then all of the guys start running away and set up for season 3. Old lady comes up, opens the door, and all of the villains inside are escaping. And then they also have this very strange moment where she's looking through her glasses, and then there's one that looks like Bruce Wayne. Did they clone him? I'm confused. I don't know if this is trying to set up kind of like a young Hush storyline. If you don't know what Hush is, I can't remember his real name because Thomas Elliot. That's his name. Thomas Elliot. He was Bruce Wayne's friend at a young age, and basically what happened is his parents died kind of around the same time before Bruce's parents died, and they sort of took him in, and then things happened. I can't remember the entire story because I've only known him from the Arkham City and Arkham Knight games, but basically Hush is a character that skins these people's faces and creates a face that looks just like Bruce Wayne's. So he steals his face pretty much. If they're trying to do this like a young Hush, have this be Thomas Elliot at a young age who stole Bruce Wayne's face, like I said, taking it and making your own thing would be a great thing to do. But I feel like that's not what they're gonna do. But it might be. I don't know. I'm curious to see where that's going. But ultimately, I think it ended very well. You've got Jim deciding to go after Lee. He needs to go get her back from the Deadpool movie. You've got Bruce and Selina and Alfred kind of deciding, okay, we need to find out who's behind this whole thing, who is in charge of Hugo Strange. And then you've got Harvey in charge of the precinct, going after all of these escaped monsters that were released by Arkham Asylum. So it is a very good setup for Season 3. Obviously, hopefully Jim comes back before... I would hate for them to come back in Season 3 and it's all about Harvey and the GCPD going after the monsters and then Bruce and Selina going after whoever is in charge of Hugo Strange, because in my opinion, the show really is about Jim Gordon. It feels like that's been the center of the show for overall the 2 seasons. So to take him out of it would just really kind of ruin what I've been thinking about the show and take away from a lot of it. So hopefully they bring him back, but those are my thoughts on this final episode. My thoughts on the season as a whole. I think this season was a better season than the first one. I think the first season had too many moments where it didn't know what it wanted to do. It had too many, our villain of the week things. It had too much unfocused moments where it's like, do we focus on Jim? Do we focus on Penguin or Fish or Harvey or Bruce? Or you weren't really sure where the focus was. So it felt very cluttered and chaotic. This season got a lot more focused on Jim Gordon. I love the whole rise of the villains in the first half, wrath of the villains in the second half of the season. We got more with Arkham Asylum this year. We got Hugo Strange introduced. We got more with Penguin. We got Jerome's Joker, in my opinion, the best part of the season. It didn't really get to that after. After those first 3 episodes where he was involved, it just never got back to that moment. I'm just like, I want to see more of Jerome. I was really, really hoping that in all of these experiments they're doing in reviving the dead, he was going to be one of them, but they never did. Maybe he will. Maybe whoever's in charge of Hugo Strange will do that. But yeah, it was a good season overall. First half of the season, Theo Galavan, all of that stuff, it was interesting. It was not really much of a mystery because we knew, but it was interesting seeing Jim figure it out. Seeing him take that step and become sort of a bad guy at the end. And then dealing with the repercussions of that at the beginning of the second half of the season. And ultimately going up against Hugo Strange for the latter part of it. It was all very well set up. It was very interesting. I just think it needs to sort of figure out when to have humor and when to be serious. Because where the first season was too serious, the second season it wasn't too funny. I don't think you could ever be too funny, especially with some of these characters like Harvey. But you need to know when to not be funny. You need to know when to tone it down and say, okay, this is an intense moment, or okay, this is a serious moment. We can't have a joke thrown in right here. But overall, I'm happy with it. I'm excited to see where season 3 goes. I don't know what they're going to do from here, but it's got a good setup. It's got a good premise, and it's exciting. Um, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this season, my thoughts on the finale. So what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you want to see them do for season 3? What was your favorite moments from this season? And what were your favorite moments from the finale? Let me know. Leave a like and subscribe for future Gotham. Check out my other TV show reviews because they're all coming to an end. Summer's going to be long. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.